as a speaker as we kind of get started here. But Benny, you've been with James from the onset at Breitbart, as you guys have both started your career in truth telling under Andrew Breitbart. This idea of citizen journalism wasn't really a thing back then. Benny, if you can maybe talk a little bit about the evolution that you've seen of citizen journalism, and then we'll get James to kind of piggyback off of that and talk about his relationship with you and why he's decided to undertake this mission his entire life.
Well, I mean, this space certainly is not about me, but I will say that the moment that I first met James, he was like probably 150 pounds soaking wet, and Andrew Breitbart was introducing him as his white pimp, and said that this man's a white pimp, and he's got hookers, and he's going to take down Barack Obama and the machine that got Barack Obama elected. And that was Acorn. And nobody quite understood what this raving lunatic Andrew Breitbart was saying about James at the time. But damn it, was that man right. What Andrew Breitbart understood was that in the advent of social media, what you could do is you could create a decentralized media that could lap the corporate press because of its speed in verifying facts and also in its connection to people. The press was always a single directional, where you were yelled at by the men in suits on 3 major networks and 3 major newspapers, and that was it. There was no conversation. Now journalism is a conversation, which is what it was always intended to be. Journalists were supposed to speak truth to power, which means that journalists were supposed to represent us, the people, the population, the populace, to represent us and protect us. That's why journalists are in the First Amendment. They were supposed to speak to the powerful in order to advocate for us, because the powerful, by definition, don't know anything about us or don't want us to have better lives. But now, journalists have become individuals who speak power to truth, meaning that they defend, like the Praetorian Guard, the powerful, in order to crush truth and to crush what people actually care about. And so that is why I say definitively that James O'Keefe is possibly the last great investigative journalist, and it'd be really, really sad.
Hey there, Benny.
There he is.
All right.
It'd be really, really
Sorry,
sad.
guys.
I'm just ending
I was
here.
literally
Really sad if you were the last one of your kind, James. So I'm very, very glad that you were starting this new enterprise to ensure that you are just seeding many, many more James O'Keefes into the matrix.
Thank you, man. I was just on the phone with a couple different sources, so that's why I'm 10 minutes late. I apologize. But it's really great to be back on Twitter Spaces. I think it's been about 6 weeks since I was back on Twitter, and it's been quite an unbelievable an extraordinary series of events. I hope you all enjoyed. I think we got 1,053 people on this Twitter Spaces. I hope you all enjoyed the launch video yesterday. There were some Easter eggs in there, right? Like I don't know if you saw the black car. We love black cars at OMG. Love them. Usually I love the black sedans. You know, you got to get a driver drive you around when you're on the phone with undercover people all day long and you're on the phone with government sources. You don't want the Uber X people. I hope you enjoyed the sandwich. Sandwiches always taste better when they're stolen. Of course, usually we don't steal them. They're handed to us. And I hope you enjoyed the dancing.
James, my man. James, you got it. James, you got it. You got to break this down for the people, okay? So these inside jokes and these Easter eggs, like, break down the relevance.
Yeah. So the dance. Well, first of all, let me start with the dancing. Ben, you know that I've been dancing since I met you. I mean, I think that the pimp costume, the pimp coat, the tour of the grandmother's chinchilla coat, the Project Veritas experience. These are things that make me who I am. I mean, you have to be an artist to be a journalist. You have to be an artist to be a storyteller. So that video contains maybe some insight into who I am over the years. And I knew Benny Johnson way back when I was producing those videos from what was it your apartment, Benny? I'm trying to remember. Like Hannah and I, was that your place
Yeah, my one-room apartment in Washington D.C. on my couch, where you
in
slept.
like 2009? Yeah, there's a picture of me and Benny.
Yeah.
I'll have to like. I don't know, it's like I was much skinnier, and the Easter eggs obviously just Benny's referring to things that were stated about me in the last month: stealing a pregnant lady's sandwich, and taking too many trips in black cars, to various meetings. Some very strange things. So anyway, um, here we are on this Twitter space, and I can, Benny, I don't know. I mean, I could call on someone, or I could just sort of talk for a few minutes more about the vision of.
Well, James,
Yeah.
I think it would be interesting for you to break down a little bit about your willingness to kind of, I mean, what you're essentially offering to the American public is you're offering to be everyone's editor. You would essentially be inspiring everyone to do journalism, and not only inspiring them to do journalism, but working with them on their stories. You're offering to help them learn how to be a good investigative journalist. Can you talk a little bit about why that's important and how investigative journalism has disappeared from corporate media?
Yeah, well, that's a great point, RC. And for everyone, for all of you out there, just know that RC Maxwell is a great man. He's an incredible human being. Just to kind of preface this, we have started this company on our credit cards, and in the last, we maxed out our credit cards. We flew Debbie Bernal to DC on one of my guys' credit card. That's the type of people that I work with, volunteering. And in the last 24 hours, we've got enough subscriptions to cover our payroll costs and then some for my tight knit journalism team. But RC, I think your point is well made about curation. Journalism has been dead for a long time now, and the reason it's been dead is because the people who own these companies don't have integrity, and they don't have a soul. Oftentimes, and the advertising influence can really corrupt the mission of the news. And you have to have extreme integrity, and you have to have extreme fearlessness. And over time, what ends up happening is, you say a mission becomes a corporation becomes a racket. So we're going to curate this information. We are going to curate the information that we receive. We're going to be teaching courses on journalism ethics, and I'm really excited. I've got some major announcements on that soon. We're going to build that out on our website in the coming weeks ahead. So we're going to be receiving a lot of information. I mean, I'm sitting in a room here with a bunch of people that are right now equipping people with cameras. And if you go to my Twitter page, I just posted a tweet where just 4 hours ago, if you scroll down, fill out the jot form, and we will give you a camera. We are already doing that, and we are buying, I think it's $60,000 worth of cameras in the next week or two, and we'll be shipping those out to you. But definitely, decentralizing journalism is the mission of this enterprise.
So, can you unpack that? Like, what would that look like in reality? RC, love you. And by the way, RC is the man who approached Katie Hobbs in Arizona and made her spill her Diet Coke at Burger King. Probably my favorite thing that you've done. You've done more. You've done more consequential journalism than that, RC. But that is my favorite clip of yours ever. But James, you can't be everyone's editor, right? Just saying that sent a chill down my spine, right? That's impossible. So, what is the structure in the real world of O'Keefe Media Group? How will it work? And more importantly, if someone's in the space and they have a big story or they think they have one of corruption institutionally, how would they even begin to get in contact with you?
Well, I mean, think about it like this: that when you're running a team of 20 journalists who are out there working full time undercover for 9 months, that's a hell of a lot harder to accomplish that mission when you have 20 people working full time trying to gain access to a subject to expose waste, fraud, or whatever, versus having a few hundred people who already have the access identify the information and send it to you. That is That is much more efficient. And I would say that I think that's exactly what we're trying to be, is the people's editor. And I think we can be. And I think we've assembled the people. The right now it's a dozen. It'll grow. I mean, we've assembled some of the best. Let's call them editors, although it's not a traditional editor. It's in a curation. People in the world, and that group will grow. But we got to start somewhere, and we got to teach people how to curate the news themselves. We got to teach people how to identify what's newsworthy. We have to teach people how to use technology. We have to get them to the point where they're their own editors, and they themselves can curate the news. But we start with a dozen, and we send out hundreds of cameras. That's the starting point, I think.
James, and can you confirm that? Can somebody confirm that my speaker is still working correctly?
Yes, we can
We
hear
can hear
you.
you. Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Thanks, guys. I'm still traveling here. James, I want to ask something that's been a burning question for myself, and I know a lot of people. What right now is the relationship between you, Project Veritas? Do you have any words? I don't want to linger on that, but I think we should just get it up and out of the way. Like, do you have any words about what happened? Do you know, like, is this going to be a competing organization? Do you have any prediction about what's going to go on over there?
I don't know if you saw, guys. About a month ago, or 3 weeks ago, I posted my departing remarks to the staff. And people see that. I guess maybe if you guys didn't, I can you can look at my Twitter feed. But I that's basically what happened. And a lot of times people say, well, what really happened? And I say, no, that's what happened. I was very honest and very vulnerable and very transparent about what happened there. I went through the entire series of events from February 6th to February 10th, where I was terminated on February 10th. And no paycheck and no authority at the organization I founded. Um, so that's all there. That's all factually there, and the timing of it. And right after the big Pfizer story, I do wish them the best. I think things are happening as they should, and I've learned a lot. I mean, that's what I said to you. I believe I said it on your show. I learned a hell of a lot about human nature, about people, about board management, and I never really focused on board cultivation. And I could not have done this new thing without that experience. I could not have. I could not have done this without that experience, and it's going to make me a better journalist, a better messenger, and frankly, it's going to make me more trusted. It's going to make me more trusted by sources. I would point you to Debbie from Pfizer, who I believe is Debbie. Is Debbie in the space? I would like to. She's here, so she's a speaker. RC says she's a speaker. Okay, well, we'll call on her in a minute. But she was not willing to go public, and then I think that it's something that I learned from, um, and it made me a better messenger moving forward. That's what I'll say, and I could say more if you have questions.
One thing I believe about, this mission of citizen journalism is I think that is the solution even to some of the stuff that's went on in the past. People really have to have a good understanding of how to be ready, not only to capture something that's newsworthy, but to have an eye for something that's newsworthy. And that's why I think that, we're willing to kind of undertake this mission to kind of be everyone's editor and work with them on these stories, because once we get these master classes going, James explaining story identification, the ability to draw information out of people who are engaging in unlawful, corrupt activity, that's just unfortunately missing in our society. This is perhaps a discussion for another day, but the bar for critical thinking in America has massively dropped. It's evident in higher education, it's evident in institutional government, and it's evident in everyday life that critical thinking is frowned upon. And I think this mission of weaponizing everyone to kind of be truth tellers is something that's going to make society more ethical. Obviously, this sounds very cosmopolitan. This is a very optimistic view, but we really have to start somewhere in America. And I think that we all witness this American disease that we're currently involved in, with the dishonesty, the lack of, just simply embracing reality. And I think that one way to disrupt that is to inspire everyone to be, actors of accountability. Uh, Police forces,
Yep.
medical facilities. We're finding out everything that's going on in darkness, and I think that's the whole idea with sunlight. Um,
By the way, so we'll get more into decentralization. Um, funny anecdote for everyone here. There's about almost 2,000, 1,500 people here. Let me see, 1,600 people here. I got a message from Oliver Darcy yesterday, and Darcy's at CNN. I confronted Darcy last year. I asked him what he thinks about the FBI raid. Darcy texted me. I'm going to read this to you guys. Maybe I'll tweet this out. Should I tweet this out? I don't know. Maybe should I tweet out a screenshot of Oliver Darcy? Tweet out. All right. Yes. My colleague is nodding yes. So this is Oliver Darcy at CNN, and he goes, James, I watched the video. This is the launch video. And while I appreciate the dance moves, it did leave me a little confused still as to what exactly you are launching. Is it meant to be a for-profit subscription-like version of what you did? And I said, Oliver, real journalism can be fun. Do you want to take one of our first courses on journalism ethics that will be offered on our website soon? And Oliver responded, ha, how much is that going to run for? And I said, for you, it'll be free. So maybe he should, maybe I should pay him. How about I pay Oliver Darcy to take my course? Maybe that's what I do. Maybe I'll Venmo him. Venmo. I don't know if that's a thing for Oliver Darcy, but but I seriously, I think Benny's question earlier was very astute. Like, can you be the people's editors? And I think 0 to 1, you want people to be their own curators. You want people to be empowered and educated such that they know what a story is and they have final cut on their apples and they're producing the story themselves. And if you can equip and you can mobilize people to go do that and be educated, because it's not an easy thing to do, you have to know ethics, you have to know technology, you have to know what a story is, and you have to know the law. Okay. And you have to be able to write it, produce it, etc. If the citizens can do that themselves, then you can change the world. Right? You can change the world. And that's our mission. So it's to get away from the traditional newsroom. I mean, the media, the 3-letter agencies, they want everything to be kept a secret. And I think most corporations want to be like, no, we want to compete with the other guys. We want exclusives. But what if there was a way for everyone to be a journalist? And you might say, oh, you're a dreamer. That's impossible. No, I'm not a dreamer. Look at my inbox. Look at my DMs. I got people from the government in every state sliding into my DMs saying, hey, send me one of those cameras. I have people in every state going on Amazon and buying the cameras themselves. Okay? Why? Because of what happens to me. Because they trust me. I don't know. Because I spent 14 years of my life going through this crazy shit. Asking permission from federal agencies to go anywhere. I see Joe Bezos on this phone call. He spent a night with me in jail in Louisiana. At least I saw him there. ALX, you got your hand raised. What's going on, brother?
Yo, so for those of you who missed it yesterday, James called into Timcast. The video is linked up in the top right now. And you teased a story that was upcoming, and you said it might have to do with some 3-letter agencies. Is that something you can tease on here? Any more information on that, or?
Yeah, I mean, I just got off the phone with the source right before I got on this phone call. They're everywhere, and they're recording and they're ready to go. This organization will be doing stories in the coming days and week ahead. And I don't want to give out any more information than that. I mean, just we're on it. And we're shipping out cameras as I speak. We're shipping out these cameras and we're giving instructions to people on what to do. I even thought about actually a model where we tweet out questions. And one of the things I want to hear from you guys on this Twitter space is, what stories do you want to see uncovered? Do you want to see the FDA uncovered? Is it Pfizer that's in control, or is it the Food and Drug Administration? So what are your hypotheses? What do you guys want exposed? Let me tweet it out right now. I will tweet out this evening on my Twitter the story that you want to get. And I believe that someone's going to DM me or email me in proximity to the subject who can get us that recording. So that's actually, let me put it back on you guys. And I'll call on anybody there.
If you're
Or ALX, do you have any ideas?
And again, everyone, if you're just joining, we are on with the O'Keefe Media Group discussing the decentralization of journalism, the mission of weaponizing all Americans with the mission of telling the truth, reporting activity. And we're discussing that with James O'Keefe, who has spent 14 years doing guerrilla journalism, inspiring whistleblowers, journalists, undercover journalists to break stories. We're also on with Benny Johnson, who knows a lot about that as well, and ALX. Also on this space is one of our whistleblowers, Debbie, who just joined James on stage at CPAC, and she knows a little bit about being an ordinary citizen who decided to be brave and do something. When Debbie feels the need to chime in, Debbie feel the need to chime in, but stories we should focus on.
Hey,
ALX, what do you have to say?
Let's make Simon, by the way, let's please invite Simon to speak, along with Kyle Morris, and along with Jan from the Epic Times. Jan's the best. I would love to hear their thoughts on what James is building here and journalism writ large.
Hey, Jan, we just spoke today earlier. Jan and I were talking on the phone. How's it going, Jan? What are your thoughts on this that you want to speak about, this vision?
Jan is still getting permission to speak.
Yep, I invited them up.
Okay.
So Simon, Kyle, and Jan should be getting invitations presently if you're interested in speaking. I think that once we load up more speakers here, and Debbie, please, if you wish to chime in, go for it. I will say this, James. I was in DC today, and I'm certainly not an undercover investigative journalist. That is not what I do. I'm a content guy, and I was standing out in front of the Department of Transportation with bottles of water, offering people at the DOT East Palestine water from the tap, just as sort of like a joke, right, for my YouTube channel. And one of the DOT 25-year veterans came up to me and just started spilling his guts about what was going on inside of the building. Now, I have all that on camera and recorded, and I'm going to be releasing that in the coming days once I decide how to do it. But I just could not believe how pent up these federal employees were at what Joe Biden and Pete Buttigieg specifically were doing and are doing with that agency, how political it's gotten, how cruel and craven it's gotten, how much of a Politburo it has become. And I'm standing there on the street corner trying to make a joke, and here comes a whistleblower literally right up into my shot, giving me 20 solid minutes of pure excoriating, smoldering, burning embers against Pete Buttigieg from inside of the building. And I was like, my God, like James is onto something.
Yep. And I'm sure, when he started talking to you, did you just take out your camera and just start recording, or how did that work for you?
We had a camera across the street, and I was lobbed.
Yeah, there's a difference between how information, we know how they slice and dice and how they act in symbiosis with the sources. We just know how it works. By the way, we're trying to get Jan in. He requested. I don't know, Benny, who can approve Jan? He requested to speak.
This is all ALX.
I'm not seeing the requests in there right now.
All right. We'll make sure try to get that done.
I can try and DM him, but
okay. How about is it Debbie Bernal, Pfizer whistleblower? Are you in the space?
Hey, yeah, I am. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah. So Debbie is the one of the two people who we worked with. I worked with to do the Pfizer story about a month ago, and she went on stage at CPAC. Very brave young woman who started a Turning Point chapter at University of Illinois in 2015. And she has a GoFundMe, a Give Send Go page rather, to support her because she was targeted by Pfizer. And she went on stage. So Debbie, just say a few words about your journey, if you're comfortable with that, and anything else you'd like to say.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I just want to thank everyone who has already donated to my Give Send Go. It means a lot. It really does. It just gives me some hope. But most importantly, thank you for your prayers. I can definitely feel them, and I'm kindly asking you guys, if you guys pray and believe in that, to keep praying for me, because now more than ever, I really need it, given the events that just occurred today. I don't know if it's okay for me to talk about that. If it is, I will go ahead. James, it's up to you.
So I don't know if James knows what you're talking about. I see your timeline
Okay,
and what
yeah, I can
you've
go ahead.
posted.
Yeah,
Kind
okay.
of some breaking news, it looks like.
Yeah, so I'm sure some of you guys noticed. Project Veritas posted something today, which really alarmed me because, I mean, I understand, you want to help people, and yeah, I'm all for that, helping people, making them aware of, big pharma's evil doings and whatnot. But when you promise a whistleblower that you're going to protect them, and you promise to, do something, and you do the opposite and just betray them, I don't know what that has to say about you. Um, I feel betrayed. Um, I, the I don't know what else to say. I don't understand how you could think that doing something like that would, incentivize other whistleblowers to come to you and trust you. How can there be trust if you promise to protect someone's safe? I'm at a
I'm
loss of
sorry.
words.
I know this must be a I know this is a Debbie. I know this is a must be a horrible feeling and a very emotional moment for you. Can you please take us? Can you please back up and tell us, like, in detail, like, what happened?
Sure. I will kind of just, I'm gonna use words carefully here, for my own sake and my protection. As you guys know, I worked at Pfizer. I was an on-site process expert there and a functional lead. And there were some coffee beans that I saw that, it didn't fit. So naturally, you go to a barista that you can trust. And, that those baristas promised me that they wouldn't use those coffee beans without my permission. And those coffee beans were meant for James O'Keefe. And that was his story, and I lost my job over the night James released that video of Project Veritas. Um, the next day, I was immediately, a lot of stuff happened. It was so scary. But essentially, I lost my job, pretty much destroyed my career in the corporate world. And now I'm pretty much living in fear, especially after today, using the coffee beans that, I that were mine. Um, so, I don't know what's noble about, where's the ethics in journalism? I don't know. I thought there was rules in journalism. I really did. And, the day that I was supposed to go public, I actually, James flew me out there to Nashville, and we were supposed to do an interview, and something felt so off. And little did I know that that was coincidentally the time where they were plotting to oust James O'Keefe. And I didn't know that specifically, but when I was there and I was around these people, I felt something was completely off. And the morning of the interview that I was supposed to do, I was invited by the executive producer to have breakfast. And I sit down there, and James isn't there. It's just the executive producer, two other journalists. And, they're being nice to me a little bit. It still felt weird. And then all of a sudden, they start asking me questions as if they were interviewing me. And I thought that was weird because I thought I was doing the interview later. And I noticed that they were taking notes, and I was very confused because I thought that was James's job. And then I looked over and saw one of the journalists holding their phone, all very odd. And he wasn't moving his phone. And I realized that they were recording me. They were interviewing me without James. They were I don't know, maybe they were trying to get ahead of James. And I noticed their camera, and I just stopped. I knew that I was being played. Project Veritas pulled a Project Veritas with me, out of all people. I thought they were people that I could trust. I thought they were people that, were supposed to promise my protection. They told me that they would, if anything happened to me, that they would have my back. And immediately they wanted me to sign a release statement or whatever. And I had a lawyer look over it, and my lawyer said, do not sign that. Do not sign that. They are trying to do something to you. And that's when the red flags just came to me. And I had to back out, and I was so scared. And I just knew at that moment that something had infiltrated Project Veritas. And I just felt, I left. And I felt so bad for James because James, was ready. He was prepared to do this interview. And I was, I really wanted to help out, do good for the world. And then here I am being recorded, and, thinking that I wouldn't know what they're doing. So, I mean, it's just so, I don't know what to say. I really don't know what to say, but I just want to say that, James, you are, I'm sorry what happened to you. I hope that your new project here is great. It runs successfully, and that, I trust you, James. I trust you, and I trust your organization, and I know that you wouldn't do that to me. So I thank you, James.
Debbie, just so everyone knows, you were a consultant at Pfizer, correct? I mean, what are you
Yeah.
willing to say about,
Yeah. So,
because people are joining, coming and going. This is like developing. I've never heard. This is insane. You're seeing some citizen journalism in action right now. This is the crowdsourcing thing I was